Good evening, parents, family, friends, and administration. Welcome to the 63rd Annual General Mclane Commencement Ceremony. Thank you for sharing this wonderful evening. At this time, please rise. Gentlemen, remove your caps and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem and singing of our alma mater.
Good evening. The General Mclane High School class of 2022 suffered a tremendous loss last summer with the untimely passing of friend and classmate Elise McEldowney. Throughout this school year, her kindness, intellect, friendship, and smile were missed but held a special place in our hearts and minds. Her memory impacted every event, and today, on this special day for our graduates, we are reminded that among us once stood a very brave, confident, and happy young lady whose time was short, but her impact great. At this time, let us pause and reflect on the life of Elise McEldowney. Thank you. At this time, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to recognize members of the audience who have served in the United States military. Will all members of the audience who have or are currently serving our country please stand and be recognized at this time? In the General Mclane High School class of 2022, there are a number of students who have committed to the service of the United States of America through our armed forces. The following students will be recognized at this time: Dorothy Allenbacher, United States Navy. Daniel Mulligan, United States Navy. Justin Field, Army National Guard. Zoe Marin, Army National Guard. Eli Reed, Army National Guard. And Maya Wilcox, United States Space Force. The General Mclane School District consists of 4 schools. Today's graduates have progressed through McCain Elementary, Edinburgh Elementary, James W. Parker Middle School, and General Mclane High School. Together, the teachers in this district have provided the education and guidance necessary for our seniors to reach this milestone. Their united efforts have produced high-quality graduates, and their efforts have made us proud. Tonight, we thank our faculty, administration, and staff from all 4 buildings and ask that they stand and be recognized at this time.
First, congratulations to all the graduates on the achievement this ceremony recognizes. Second, thank you to all the teachers and faculty for your contributions and hard work, which have allowed every graduate to be here today. Personally, I'd like to highlight Mr. Scaletta for regularly taking time out of his schedule to be involved and serve as a positive role model for so many GM students over the years. At the start of this school year, I thought a lot about the opportunities I've been blessed with. Opportunities that are the result of being a young person in a good school district in the United States. Most of these factors I have little to no control over, and reflecting on this idea made me appreciate my current position. It also gave me a sense of urgency to try new things and make the most of the available opportunities. In the back of my mind, it felt like there was an invisible clock slowly ticking down, running out of time. Whether that be running out of time to join new sports or activities, running out of time to hang out with friends, or the big one, running out of time to decide what to do upon graduation. These things are all important, but I would dare to say that each person makes a more important decision every day. The decision of not what to do, but who to become. A person's character is the sum of every decision they've ever made. It's something that is improved or deteriorated with the decisions of each day. The school system may view people by their achievements, but people view you as much more. In recent years, I have learned that you are not your GPA, or your test scores, or your pins and awards. You're not your athletic accomplishments, and you're not your ability to write essays or even give speeches. You're the person who holds the door for people you don't know. You're the person who volunteers at food banks and shelters. You're the person who spends many afternoons picking up trash around the town so that others can enjoy a clean environment. Taylor Swift said, "You are the only person that gets to decide what you'll be remembered for." I'm confident that every one of the young men and women here today have grown a lot to reach this point. The past 4 years have taught all of us so much more than could be expressed in a brief speech, but I'll share just a few things our class has learned. Mr. Snare showed us how to have fun. Mr. Scaletta showed us how to be healthy and fit. Mr. Knight showed us how to dance. And Tito, he showed us how to be kind. In school, the focus is often put on popularity contests and test scores, but years from now, what will actually matter? Definitely not your grade in math, but the type of person you are, your character. I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors, and I challenge us all to stop and think, what will people remember me for?
Thank you, Zach. You know, during school, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who would stare at the clock every 5 minutes to see how much time had passed. I would do calculations in my head to determine how much time I had before I could just leave. I think to myself, well, if I have 30 minutes left of class, that's just 3 10-minute increments. I can make it. I realize now that that probably wasn't the best approach to my time here. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Billy Joel and one of his hit songs, Vienna. It's a slow, bittersweet song, but there are a few verses that really stand out to me. He asks, "Where's the fire? What's the hurry about? You better cool it off before you burn it out." And then he continues, "But you know that when the truth is told, that you can get what you want or you can just get old." In this song, Billy Joel sings about how we live in such a fast-paced world, it's hard to just slow down for a minute and enjoy the moment. This really put things into perspective. I was taking time for granted, even if it wasn't how I wanted to spend it. I wasn't living in the moment. Now, I don't think Billy Joel is saying that we shouldn't think about our future or past at all, but rather we should treat each moment as a gift. And that's what we are doing right now. As we are sitting here, we are reflecting on our time at GM, and we are looking forward to our futures after high school. But most importantly, we are in this moment, and we are graduating. What a monumental moment. I hope that you continue to treat each moment with care, just like this one. Time can go by so fast. I mean, think about how fast 13 years actually went. But ultimately, it's your time now, and you get to choose what to do with it.
Thank you, Maddie. I'm sure that many of you here today remember watching the animated movie Cars. Whether you were like me when you first saw it, just a young kid marveling at the talking cars on screen, or maybe you were an exhausted parent, grateful for the opportunity to distract one of us for a couple hours. Regardless, we've all come a long way since when Cars was released 16 years ago, and yet the lessons it taught us then still apply to our lives today. In one specific scene, Mater shows Lightning McQueen his skills as the world's best backwards driver. Lightning McQueen is thoroughly amazed by this talent, and when Mater finishes, he gives McQueen an explanation for his confidence, saying, "Ain't no need to watch where I'm going, I just need to know where I've been." This quote, while easily overlooked when we were children, contains a very simple truth. The future is unknown. Nevertheless, it's easy to get caught up in trying to plan out the rest of your life, especially with everyone asking you about what you're doing after graduation. However, I encourage you not to be overly anxious or worried about your future after high school. Yes, planning and being prepared are both good to an extent, but you simply cannot expect to see clearly what your life will be like 5 or 10 years later. Even a year from now, so much will be different from what you'd expected, so why try to plan it all out? Instead, find comfort in the fact that tomorrow is a mystery, and know that it's never too late to make a change. If you realize 2 years from now that you don't like your major, change it to something you're more interested in. If 10 years down the road you're working a job you just aren't interested in anymore, find one you're more passionate about. Just because you didn't expect to make these changes in your life doesn't make them bad. It just means you've grown from the person that you used to be. So, rather than sitting here today worrying about the rest of your life, Take a lesson from Mater and realize that where you're headed isn't important. It's the difference from where you were before and where you are now that truly matters.
To guide you. Now you're on your own.
Only me beside you.
Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone.
Sometimes people leave you halfway through the woods. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. People make mistakes with each other. People make mistakes holding to their own, thinking they're alone.
Honor their mistakes.
Fight for their mistakes.
Money makes.
One another's terrible mistakes.
Parents can be right.
Teachers can be good. You decide what's right. You decide what's good. Just remember.
After Stephen Sondheim passed away last year, a group of his peers gathered to celebrate him through his music. They remembered him as a teacher, a mentor, a friend. As we gather here for our vast achievement, remember the mentors who've gotten you to where you are today. Remember the lessons that they've taught you. Carry them with you, and you will never be alone.
Someone is on your side, our side, someone else is not. While we're singing our side, maybe we forgot. They are not alone. No one is alone.
Time to dim the lights now.
Just don't let it go. Things will come out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
As C.S. Lewis said, you never know what you can do until you try, and very few try unless they have to. For the early years of your life, in elementary school, your parents made many decisions for you. Maybe they signed you up for a sport, like soccer or dance, instrument lessons, or a summer camp. Maybe you love to play that sport, musical instrument, or attend that camp and still do to this day. Then as you progress through middle school and high school, you gain more freedoms with each year. You decided to participate in a sport, take certain classes, or work a job, but your parents still had some say in what you did. Now as you embark on this long journey into the adult world, you are in charge of making your own decisions that will have an impact on your life forever. You need to explore and try new things that put you in positive, uncomfortable situations. Most people dislike challenges and changes, but you are capable of doing anything possible as long as you set your heart and mind to achieve that goal. Life will be a busy whirlwind, whether you're going into college, the military, or the workforce. For every door you open, or decision you make, or don't make, there will be benefits and consequences. For every decision you make sure you ask yourself this question: will this decision help me to be where I want to be 5 or 10 years from now? Decisions, decisions, decisions. Life is full of decision making. We have all made our first large decision this year regarding our post-secondary education plans. Trying to figure out what you want to do for a living can be very difficult, but I am proud that you began exploring and may have chosen a path for your future. Do not feel discouraged if you're unsure of what you want to do yet, but set aside some time to explore your options. Pursue your goals and do not self-limit. Make sure you give life your all and take on positive, uncomfortable challenges, because at the end of the day, it is your life, so make it a good one.
I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like only yesterday we were all playing Angry Birds on our tablets, watching those little minions squabble around trying to steal the moon, and throwing out some stellar Yo Mama jokes along the way. Well, for most of us, including myself, this probably feels so recent because this is exactly what we did yesterday. Except now we are loudly singing the cool tunes from Hamilton. Seriously though, from Call Me Maybe to everyone scrolling helplessly on TikTok for hours, time has flown by. In case you all forgot, we are graduating today. A moment we've worked towards for 13 years has finally arrived. Before you'll know it, you'll already be asking, what comes next? Most of us have been looking into and thinking about the future. Whether that's, what cool things will I do this summer? How much fun am I going to have at my new job? Or a quick shout out to my dad, who's looking forward to one of the best days of his life, in his opinion, his retirement. He's bald. And then before you know it, you've lived your life, not remembering where all the time went. That's why we all need to take a step back and take a break from going nonstop. Sit back and enjoy where we are. See all the good happening in times where we think things can only go wrong. Rather than worry about what the next step is, look in amazement at what you're doing today. Our lives are so short and precious, so be sure to look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now.
Throughout high school, I've learned how to practice good work ethic. I've taken numerous AP courses and read countless textbooks, and I've grown into my role as a student athlete. Although these are important lessons, I've learned so much more beyond the academic aspect. The most valuable lesson I've gained cannot be taught from a curriculum or acquired from books. I've learned that the greatest hardships of high school often take place outside the classroom. Each student has faced burdens much deeper than an overdue homework assignment or a failed test. Whether it be a struggle with unstable mental health, a burden of an irreparable family issue, or a seemingly insurmountable battle with grief, no one has graduated free of challenges or lived exempt from trials. Any classmate you pass in the hallway could be encountering all of these obstacles and more unbeknownst to you. On any given day, that classmate could have been me or any one of you. Even though you may be unaware of the trials someone is facing, every day is the opportunity to demonstrate a simple act of kindness. If you're in a rush, stop and say hello anyway. If you're having a bad day, share someone's joy anyway. If you're exhausted, stay after and clean up anyway. If you're overwhelmed, check in on someone anyway. Charles Glassman said, "Kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. The smallest, seemingly insignificant gesture can uplift someone who, although seems calm and collected, is facing unimaginable obstacles just to show up to class today." That's why, in any and every situation, choose compassion, choose patience, choose kindness.
As I speculated what to write this speech about, certain things that people have stated throughout my life had stuck out to me. However, the one thing that stood out the most to me was something that my eldest brother Tyler said the summer before freshman year when we were training for our soccer seasons. I was attempting to get my fastest mile time, and Tyler said to me, "You just have to run 4 laps around the track as fast as you can. Then you can relax, it's only 4 laps." It wasn't until I was sitting in the auditorium listening to my fellow graduates and some of my best friends' speeches that I realized how this simple statement applied to high school. The 4 laps around the track represent the 4 years we have in high school, and each year has had its separate hurdles just like each lap around the track does. Some of these challenges were much more difficult than others, but we were able to persevere through each of them and get to where we are now. Although we will run many more laps and many more miles throughout our lives, at this moment, we can breathe because we are done. I know that many of us have put our blood, sweat, and tears into these past 18-some years. But now, that calculus final is over. That English paper is handed in. That lab report is out of your hands. Everything that has stressed us out for months on end is over. We have done it. We have graduated. We can take a breath. We can take a step back. Now, we are all going off into completely different directions. For some, it may be college in Florida, Pittsburgh, Alabama, Edinburgh, or even Erie. For some, it may be the military or off into the workforce. Whatever it is, we are all about to start our lives after the longest mile we have ever ran. When parents, teachers, coaches, and all the people we look up to ask about our plans for after high school, they expect a well-thought-out answer. This makes it seem like now is the time we must have everything figured out. But it is okay if we don't know exactly what we want to do, because now is the time to reflect on those 4 laps, put your hands up, and take a walk. It is more than okay to take one day at a time and enjoy every second because we never know when our last will be. So my advice to you is to change your mind and change it again, because it's okay to not know what you're doing. We've run the longest mile of our lives by graduating high school, but the rest is still unwritten, and it is up to us after all of the blood, sweat, and tears for 18-some years.
Thank you, Peyton. In the past decade, superhero films have dominated the movie industry. And while their popularity can be credited to the need for an escape from our own world, it's also true that these movies and characters are a direct reflection of what goes on around us. For my quote, I've chosen one from my favorite superhero, Captain America. He states, "When the world tells you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move." In my experience, I've learned that while compromise is important and often the best option, sometimes there comes a point where we just can't. There will be people in our work and social lives who try to uproot us, who will discredit our work and success and criticize our decisions. While we should conduct ourselves in the best manners with others in the adult world, we should hold importance to ourselves. We all have the desire to be held important in the minds of others, but don't compromise your own goals just to meet this desire. When people try to push you into accepting their lesser views of you, push back. Root yourself into your beliefs and into the truth that you belong at the table and that what you bring into the world is valuable. Because successful people aren't necessarily people with exceptional grades or an outstanding talent. It's the people who continue to pursue their goals in the face of discouragement. So, as you face challenges and are challenged by others to move, plant yourself.
It's a real shame. Thank you, Rebecca. Courage. Courage is the ability to face one's fears, pain, or grief. Courage is a trait that is desirable and respectable. Courage is a characteristic of the class of 2022. As Winston Churchill said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Let me remind you, if you've somehow forgotten, we were some of the first to enter quarantine and some of the first to come back to school. We were forced to face the death of our fellow classmate and most recently, our athletic director. Besides these large, overarching sorrows, we face day-to-day challenges, balancing school life, a social life, jobs, family, and so much more. So much has been thrown at our class by the world, and our success is not guaranteed for the future. So we cannot abandon this determination in the sight of adversity. The only thing stopping us from success now is ourselves. Although you yourself have to be strong, courage is something you need not to find alone. So when we stumble, let's promise to find the courage to stand together, the courage to persevere, and most importantly, the courage to continue.
The General Mclane School District joins with 11 other school districts to jointly own and operate the Erie County Technical School. Many of our graduates here tonight have completed one of the 18 programs offered at the school. They are wearing a green honor cord to designate them as ECTS students, and they should stand and be recognized at this time. Students selected to the National Honor Society have demonstrated exemplary characteristics in the areas of scholarship, leadership, service, and character. The members of the graduating class of 2022 who have been accepted to the National Honor Society are wearing blue and gold cords this evening. These students were honored at an acceptance ceremony during the school year and should stand and be recognized at this time. At General Mclane High School, we feel a sense of duty and responsibility in the promotion of public education. General Mclane students who are considering careers in education join the Education Academy as juniors. To gain experience in the field, Academy students spend a quarter tutoring at one or both of our elementary schools, and they offer assistance in district classrooms. Education Academy students are wearing red and silver cords and should stand and be recognized at this time. The General Mclane Academy of Medical Arts and Engineering is proud to recognize its 7th graduating class of the Academy. These students prepared for careers in engineering and the medical field by completing a prescribed curriculum, a job shadowing experience, and attending an advisory speaker series. These students are wearing red and white cords to designate them as Academy students and should stand and be recognized at this time. The General Mclane Quality Assurance Program is a certificate program in partnership with Edinburgh University where each student earns 15 credit hours as well as a professional internship at the completion of the program. These students are wearing gray cords to designate them as quality assurance students and should stand and be recognized at this time.
My friend recently asked me if I have any regrets thus far, because he doesn't want to finish high school wishing that he would have done things differently or done more. You and I certainly cannot live high school over again, but how fortunate would we be to finish the next 5 years, 10 years, even the rest of our lives without wishing that we would have done things differently. A priest, Monsignor Losi, in a sermon once said, "If I had to live life over again, I would pick more daisies." Striving to pick more daisies in life isn't just about appreciating the little things. It's more than stopping to smell the roses. It's about distinguishing what is truly important in our lives and holding on to those things so that we don't look back years later wondering where they've gone. As an athlete, there have been months on end where I eat, sleep, and breathe cross-country or track. Hard work and dedication are good things, but I had given all of mine to running. And after getting hurt during my final season of track, I felt like I had lost everything. Monsignor Losi described that learning to pick more daisies is like living in a world of black and white to suddenly waking up to one of color. Suddenly the very thing you thought was so important, whether it be a sport, grades, image, or meeting others' expectations, is now not the only thing you see. You can now focus on the color, the things that make life beautiful, seeking lasting friendships over popularity, seeking faith and truth over pride, and even having fun. In this new light, you'll realize that your grades or your image were never worthy of all the dedication you gave them. You'll wake up one day and appreciate all the opportunities and time with family and friends you had, so much that you'll no longer feel attached to things that are temporary or unfulfilling. At any age of life, whether you're beginning high school like my friend, graduating, or years into the future, first discern what is most important. Discover the daisies in your life, pick them, and cherish them.
Thank you, Jenna. We all fear failing. Nonetheless, failure is still an inevitable part of life. This is not merely an assumption, but just a fact. Everyone here has experienced a time in their life where this truth became apparent to them. This became very clear to me early on, but didn't truly resonate until I started middle school and continued on to high school. Failure implies there has been an act or action has already taken place to characterize your past faults. However, failure does not have to end here. From the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, Uncle Iroh states, "Failure is only the opportunity to begin again." This particular quote stood out to me personally, not only because it originated from my favorite show, but because it gives new meaning to what failure may be. Failure is often associated with a negative connotation, such as, you failed the class, you failed at the auditions, you failed the test you took, you are a failure. Each day, you can choose whether to dwell upon those past mistakes you made or learn and grow from them. Uncle Iroh was a retired Fire Nation general that had committed unforgivable war crimes under the other three nations that resulted in lost lives and the burden it created. But like Iroh, a person is not defined by their failures, but rather their growth from it. This is what makes us all unmistakably human in that aspect. We will all experience failure in our day-to-day lives. If we equate failure as a negative result, we can never push forward. If we look at failure in a positive light, there's room for improvements and new beginnings. So as we move on in the next stages of our life, don't be afraid to fail. Embrace it, because we're all going to fail, but we can learn to grow.
Thank you, Jackie. In the Wicked soundtrack, Elphaba, who most of you will probably know as the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, sings a couple of times about how she was told her whole life that she would never be a good witch or person since she was born green. One of these times is towards the middle of the song Defying Gravity, where Elphaba sings, "I'm through accepting limits 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know." Now, all of us as teenagers have been told at some point in time that we cannot do something, just like Elphaba was. Sometimes we are told that because of our age, or our height, or our looks, just like Elphaba. And a lot of times, that person is right. But sometimes, a person is just telling us we can't do it because they couldn't. It is in those times that we want to press on and push against that limit and try anyway. Sometimes they don't want us to succeed where they could not. They are jealous or controlling and aren't willing to see us be better than them. Now, they may be right, and you may fail. But at least you discovered this on your own and didn't just not try. You didn't just give up because someone told you to. You may have been told by someone in your life, such as a parent or a classmate or a work colleague, that you can't go to college, that you don't have the brains or the attention span to do so. Maybe they will be right. You might flunk out of all your classes and decide that college just isn't for you. However, if you really want to try, then I say do it. Try anyway. You may have been told that there's no way you'll get your dream job, no way they will ever hire you. Try anyway. Elphaba was told her whole life that she would never amount to anything good, but she tried anyway. She put her whole heart, her entire soul into being a good witch. And even though she did not end up achieving all of her dreams, she tried. That knowledge, that knowing you tried, that you gave it your all, that is better than having never failed since you never tried. If you really want something, if you really want to do something, trying is the first step in succeeding. You will never get that job, or pass that class, or become who you want to be if you do not first apply yourself and try anyway. Trying will not hurt you, but giving up just might.
Thanks, Avery. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This might seem obvious when you hear it, but yet some things seem almost too big and too important to even think about. Anything in our lives can be a so-called journey. Getting out of bed in the morning, doing a homework assignment, and completing a year of school are all examples of the many journeys that comprise our lives. As high school students, we all know the feeling of waiting too long to do an assignment and having to scramble to finish it the night before. This procrastination and rush to finish the assignment can be a journey, and it's experiences like these that have made up our time here at GM. From preschool to elementary school and from middle school to high school, we have traveled all the way to where we are now, sitting here at graduation, preparing to begin the next step of our lives. No matter what you choose to do, our next path is essentially adult life. It's scary to imagine getting from where we are now to where we'll be in 20 years. That journey seems almost too big to even consider taking. Yet, think back to your elementary school years. The end of high school seems so far away from you, and here it is. It's easy to think that this next journey of our lives is too big of an undertaking, and it's easy to want to ignore that path. However, every seemingly insurmountable challenge has led us to become the person that we are today. No matter how daunting it seems, everything always works out. So again, I challenge you to remember that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. As you all sit here ready to embark on your next 1,000-mile trip, get ready to walk down that aisle, get your diploma, and take the first step of your next journey. Thank you.
The class of 2022 is the 6th graduating class of General Mclane High School to be recognized according to the Latin recognition system. Students are wearing a pin this evening in honor of their academic achievements. Students who have earned a cumulative GPA of 3.75 to 3.99 are being recognized as cum laude graduates. These students are wearing bronze-colored pins. Would these students please stand and be recognized at this time? Students who have earned a cumulative GPA of 4.0 to 4.39 are being recognized as magna cum laude graduates. These students are wearing silver-colored pins. Would these students please stand and be recognized at this time? Students who have earned a cumulative GPA of 4.4 or higher are being recognized as summa cum laude graduates. This year we have 13 students who have earned the title of summa cum laude. These students are wearing gold-colored pins and are recognized in the program by a cross. These students individually are Spencer Donald Green, Wesley Ty Hakkinen. Ian Garrick Kennedy. Owen Clark Larman. Peyton Lynn Massey. Rebecca Maria Mishler. Louisa James Opp. Jacqueline Jiming Patterson. Madison Lee Pfeiffer. Genevieve Rose Preston. Zachary Michael Rowland. Avery Rose Van Dyke. Maya Rihanna Wilcox. The General Mclane High School Student Choice Award is presented to an outstanding senior selected by vote of the members of the senior class. The General Mclane High School Student Choice Award is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Ian Garrick Kennedy. The General Mclane High School Faculty Choice Award is presented to an outstanding senior selected by vote of the General Mclane High School faculty. The General Mclane High School Faculty Choice Award is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Wesley Ty Hakkinen.
Thank you.
Tonight we are awarding 3 new scholarships. The first of the 3 is the General Mclane Lady Lancers Scholarship. This scholarship was established in the fall of 2021 to assist a senior soccer player with college expenses. The coaching staff and Lady Lancers Soccer Board acknowledge all senior players will do great things. This scholarship will help one of these players further her dreams. The General Mclane Lady Lancers Soccer Scholarship is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Tegan Elizabeth Watkins. The Independent Order of Oddfellows is another new scholarship we are presenting tonight. This student demonstrates the principles of the Oddfellows Order, which are friendship, love, and truth. Additionally, we at General Mclane High School have come to know this student as resilient, optimistic, and driven. The Oddfellows Scholarship is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Mystique Christina Rose. The Elizabeth R. Betty Gilbert Scholarship is a new scholarship this year that is being awarded in memory of Mrs. Gilbert, an educator at General Mclane for 28 years. Mrs. Gilbert taught reading at the high school and was the cheerleading coach, the prom advisor, and secretary of the Teachers Association. This scholarship goes to a senior who has at least 2 years participation as a GM varsity cheerleader and has demonstrated exceptional school spirit. The Elizabeth R. Betty Gilbert Scholarship is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Abigail Marie Ramba. The Lamson Award is presented each year to an outstanding graduating senior who has shown industry, perseverance, and enthusiastic attendance in his or her student life. The recipient of this award is chosen by nomination of the high school front office staff. The Francis Lamson Award is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Austin Christopher Henry. The Administrator's Scholarship is founded on the deepest of gratitude and the belief that those who have been blessed have an obligation to give back. This scholarship is made possible by a fund created in the name of Therese T. Walter, who served General Mclane as superintendent from 1982 to 2005. The intent is twofold. First, to thank the board and community who allowed the district to grow into one of the finest, and second, to thank the administrators who shared the leadership and the vision. Dr. Walter always said, "No one succeeds alone. If we succeed, we owe those who helped it happen." This scholarship is dedicated to those who helped it happen, and the recipient is the sole choice of the administrators at General Mclane High School. The Therese T. Walter Administrators Award is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Jenna Elizabeth Kalka. The Edwin J. Linden Memorial Scholarship is given in memory of the man who served as principal of General Mclane High School from 1960 until his death in 1973. Edwin J. Linden was the first principal of the school following the consolidation and creation of the General Mclane School District. He was a man of character who believed in people and in the importance of public education. The Edwin J. Linden Memorial Scholarship is the highest award which can be given by the faculty of General Mclane High School. It is presented to a graduating senior who has displayed throughout his or her school career the same moral character, integrity, self-control, and discipline as was valued and practiced by the man for whom this award is named. The Edwin J. Linden Memorial Scholarship Award is presented this 9th day of June 2022 to Ian Garrick Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Minow. Good evening, parents, friends, family, teachers, staff, and soon-to-be graduates to the commencement ceremony for the class of 2022. We gather here this evening to honor and recognize these students for having completed an important chapter in their lives. And we also recognize that these soon-to-be graduates are here this evening because of the people seated in the stands. In many ways, this ceremony recognizes the sacrifices that all you have made and all that you have done to support the journey to this stadium here tonight. Class of 2022. As I'm sure you've started to realize, there are moments in our lives that are both significant and mundane. There's some that are a big deal, and there are some that are not a big deal. As you've probably noticed tonight is one of those significant moments. When you step off the stage tonight, the ground under your feet has shifted a little. And it's never quite the same after that because you are then a graduate of General Mclane High School. You are a graduate prepared by your time at GM for what comes next. And yes, this group, this class of 2022, is prepared. I know that the last few years have been a challenge and difficult, possibly the most challenging that we've had in education. But I push back firmly against any misguided narratives or ideas or cherry-picked anecdotes about these kids or this generation and their supposed shortcomings. This isn't necessarily a quote that I think of, but more of a passage. And when I hear these things, I'm reminded of a letter to the editor. A letter to the editor by Mr. Kenneth Freeman. Mr. Freeman wrote a letter to the paper in an editorial expressing his disgust at the younger generation's lack of a work ethic, its love of luxury, its lack of manners, its sense of entitlement, and its disrespect for authority. Mr. Freeman wrote this letter in 1907. I'm here to tell you tonight that despite the sentiments of Mr. Freeman and every curmudgeon in every generation since, there isn't a problem with the class of 2022 at all. Instead, the resiliency, the adaptability, and the strength that all of you have developed in your 4 years of high school, most of which was during a global pandemic, will be the kind of skills that will serve you well, whatever your path may be after graduation. No, it's not the class of 2022 that's in any way flawed. What is flawed is our ability as adults to remember that becoming an adult is a process. And tonight, at this graduation, we celebrate an important part of that process. I know that I've only been here for less than a year, but during that time, in my interactions with these soon-to-be graduates, I have gladly come to know what this class and what they have to offer. They are kind, they are persistent, they are empathetic, they are creative, and they solve problems. And more than anything, they are prepared. So before moving on with this evening, I want to say thank you to the class of 2022. Thank you for being the young adults that make us proud to say that you are graduates, very soon to be, of General Mclane High School. At this time, I'll recognize members of the General Mclane School Board. So board members, please rise and be recognized when you are introduced. Dr. Timothy Wise. Mr. Andy Schultz. Mr. Brad Petullo. Mr. Luke Lofgren. Mrs. Linda King. Mr. Donald Ickes. Mrs. Sherry Gold. And President Ms. Carrie Eastman Crow. Thank you, General Mclane School Board. And Ms. Crow, if you can now come to the stage. Ms. Crow, as Superintendent of the General McLean School District, I am especially proud to present to you the General McLean High School Class of 2022 for the rite of graduation.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. And good evening, everyone. I think I can speak for the entire board when I say that graduation is truly the pinnacle event of our volunteer service, when we get to witness the fruition of student growth and hard work. We also see the culmination of the effort and intense planning by our administration and our dedicated, innovative teachers, staff, coaches, and advisors who all enthusiastically continue to do more with less to meet our students where they are, to empower them to be all they can be. Lancers, and before you come alumni, I'd like to just give you one more quote or words of advice. Go forth, be good citizens, and call home from time to time. And so without further ado, on behalf of the 9 members of the Board of School Directors of the General McLean School District, it is my distinct honor to declare that the scholars of the General McLean High School Class of 2022 have met all the requirements established by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the General McLean School District, and are hereby authorized to receive their diplomas and be considered graduates of General McLean High School. Congratulations, Lancer alumni.
Must have a code that you can live by. And so
Amber Kimberly Acree. Avery Via Awang. Sean Nicholas Allison. Kaito Alvarado. John Ware Amon. Cameron James Antonotti. Dorothy Lenore Allenbacher. Anastasia Zeta Baltazar. Alyssa Renee Bainey. Landon William Beachley. Hayden Philip Benoit. Antonio Bittler. Giovanni Joseph Bizzarro. Robert Walter Blair. Brooklyn Faith Bowen. Sky Anne-Marie Bowers. Alex Michael Brendlinger. Sebastian Anthony Brown. Daniel Ray Bruce. Mason Lee Byler. Cameron Anthony Tyler Calabrese. Emma A. Canada. Macy Gray Clark. Christopher Michael Converse. Austin Lee Cooper. Colin Ira Crooks. Ellen Cunningham. Daniel Patrick Daymore. Nathan James Danowski. Ian Robert Davis. Brandon Michael Dedrick. Dominic Grant Dennis. Madison R. Donahue. Isabella Page Dorman. Nathan Christopher Doubt. Jamie Lynn Dreyer. Caitlin Elizabeth Dubinsky. Seth Armstrong Edmonds. Alec William Isert. Ava Starr Elmer. Nathan Englert. Julia Rose Esposito. Sydney Marcella Forbotnik. Taylor Marie Faulkner. Trent Russell Fellows. Bianca Amory Fenstermacher. Justin Jeffrey Field. Dylan Michael Fisher. Maria Bonita Forgione. Spencer Donald Green. Cara Renee Gurlia. Mason Guthrie. Gus Robert Guzik. Gage Canyon Haggerty. Wesley Ty Hakkinen. Zachary Ryan Hart. Jacob Charles Haschak. Matthew Joseph Haschak. Amber Ray Haskins. Austin Christopher Henry. Audrey Michelle Holman. Jada May Holmes. Logan Joshua Hotchkiss. Zachary Herda. Haley Anne Marie Isbicki. Isabella Y. Jackson. Lucas Anthony Jacobowski. Ryan Joseph James. Olivia Nadine Johnson. Andrew Charles Johnson. Dane Patrick Jukes. Mara Ruth Callie. Ian Garrick Kennedy. Roy Stephen King. Miranda Page Klein. Riley Jacob Kowalski. Benjamin Peter Krismanich. Kelly Rose Kulisek. Jenna Elizabeth Kulka. Owen Clark Larman.
Yes, sir, baby. That's my boy.
Lillian Elizabeth Larson. Roman Michael Lachevsky. Jacob A. Lewin. Gavin Michael Lino. Thomas Daniel Lloyd. Nathaniel Mark Lofgren. Alex Antonio Madrid. Ava Lourdes Madrid. Jordan Elizabeth Mangoni. Mason Alexander Manley. Kirsten Alexandra Morent. Clara Estelle Markham. Peyton Lynn Massey. Derek Matthews. Therese Jane McCarthy. Lucas James McCaslin. Donovan N. McLaughlin. Madison Ann McLaughlin. David Ryan Mahalik, Jr. Paige Emily Miller. Caleb Jean Minner. Rebecca Maria Mishler. Emily Elizabeth Moran. Zoe Ann Marin. Lucas Cole Faulkner Moats. Isaac David Mraz. Daniel Robert Mulligan. Ong Set Nang. Emily Louise Nelson. Joshua Lee Newport. Rowan Marie Norris. Louisa James Opp. Ryan Porter Passmore. Rodolfo Nathaniel Patton.
Yes, sir.
Jacqueline Jiming Patterson.
Yeah, Jackie!
See, that's what I could do. Yeah, there you go.
Margaret Ella Pete. Richard Peterson. Jared Christopher Payton. Dylan Matthew Pietkowski. Madison Lee Pfeiffer. Genevieve Preston. Wynn Parker Puller. Eli Joseph Reed. Jenny Rose Magdalene Roberts. Seth Edward Rogala. Zachary Michael Rowland. Abigail Marie Ramba. River of Fire Romeo Reitinger. Kylie Rose Roney. Mystique Christina Rose. Eric Timothy Salmonson. Mackenzie Victoria Saloff. Serenity Marie Scantling. Jeremiah David Schreiber. Tyler Allen Scully. William John Seacrest. Aiden Matthew Seaman. Jamie Lynn Sennett. Libby Deborah Shattuck. Lyric Autumn Shaw. Hunter Benjamin Siciliano. Brooke Kennedy Simmons. Clay William Smith. Cole Richard Smith. Isaac John Smith. Riley Morgan Saboski. Riley June Spear. Jason Thomas Stroop. Caitlin Sage Supples. Logan Thompson. Evan Campbell Toper. Avery Rose Van Dyke. Kennedy Elizabeth Watkins. Tegan Elizabeth Watkins. Bradley Roldan Weber. Alexis Christine Westcote. Maya Rihanna Wilcox. Anna Renee Williams. Russell Glenn Wismer. Hannah Wolf. Lillian Woodford. Rachel Elizabeth Wooten. Isis Marie Wozniak. Linus Gregory Zare. Maiden Loretta Zare. Maiden Loretta Zeitz. Gretchen Alexa Zukowski. Congratulations.
Class of 2022, please stand. Congratulations, we did it!